Hold on. Oh, we're almost ready. Hey, ballers. Welcome to If These Balls Could Talk, where we talk about the latest in sports, tech, and pop culture. This is Mark along with John and Pete, and joining us tonight is our friend, Mr. Rudy Kellner. Good evening, Rudy.
What is happening?
We are so happy that you are able to join us. Like, we have been waiting for, we've been trying to do this for like the last 2 months, Rudy, at the very least.
So happy I could be here. Thanks for having me.
Great.
Yeah,
Dude, that's very possible. Yeah, I think that's about right.
wow.
Let's not go another 22. Yeah, we should. No.
As a kind reminder, if you like what you hear or see, please like us or hit that subscribe button, or as we like to say, tickle that little bell. John, it's always gross. I think that's why I do it, because if you feel so awkward. John, how you been?
We don't know what it is. John, is your mic might be muted. Make sure you're.
No, I can hear him. I can hear him.
Can the show hear him?
All right, we'll figure it out.
Do we need to restart?
Joys of a live show, you guys.
I mean, yeah, we can't do much for the live stream right now, but at the very least, we could save the audio. While we're waiting, I'm going to finally open up this Japanese whiskey that I have.
Ooh.
This is the same whiskey, John, that I had at that steakhouse. That was like a $36.
$36, you say? Stephanie, am I back?
Yep.
I think I'm back, Steph.
Holy cow.
Yeah, Yamakazura. That's what it is. I don't know if you can actually read that. This is a really good Japanese whiskey.
Yay, I'm back.
Fancy.
Thanks, Steph.
John's back,
Thanks,
baby.
Liam.
Courtesy
John,
of Liam.
where do you want us to pick up from?
I mean, fuck it. Let's just go.
You want to do So, John, how you been?
There you go.
am doing great. My daughter is now old enough, Rudy. My daughter is 11. She's now old enough that she likes monster movies. I got her watching the new Jurassic Park movies, which are fine, but she wasn't too scared. And then I was like, you know what we should try? We should try Godzilla, because she liked the big dinosaurs, right? So we watched the new Godzilla, not the old, and then we watched King Kong, which actually totally great, the new King Kong movie. And then we're now on King Kong, King of the Monsters, less great, but Millie Bobby Brown's in it, so I have her interested for at least a little longer, so that's good.
Awesome.
How are you, Mark?
Great.
Things are going well.
How's the secret mission?
Still pretty busy. The secret mission almost made me really, really late for the. Actually, it did kind of make me really, really late for the show. I was actually in my car talking to Rudy, trying to do the little pre-show warm up. And it was kind of fun trying to. It's raining here too, so it's kind of fun driving in the rain.
It's raining in your office?
It was raining in my car.
Yeah, it's fucking weird, man.
But I don't know. Yeah, the new kickball season should be starting. The outdoor kickball season should be starting this very week.
Right.
I actually don't know if my team has people on it. I'm gonna find out on Friday. That's
not
be
good.
Interesting. I know. It's going to be very interesting because we lost a lot of people from last year, like really good people. So I don't know how my team is going to do this year.
Mark plays
Pete,
essentially competitive intramural sports. So he plays kickball.
It's the only way I stay in shape because I don't go to the gym.
That's good. That's good.
Pete, how things?
Busy. Let's move on.
Who are you going to call?
Pretty much. Who are you going to call? Somebody else.
Yeah.
No, it's, I mean,
Jokes.
juggling a baby and work, and then
Don't juggle the baby.
has been picking up way too much slack at home and doing a ton of work around the house and everything. And I don't tell her that I appreciate all that she does enough. Yeah, but she
And
deserves
and
it.
you're not just saying that because she's listening right now.
No,
Or you're
no,
on
I
a public
truly-
radio show.
No,
Don't
I
juggle
just-
babies.
It's easy. No, it's just easy to get so tied up in your own shit that like you don't realize sometimes just how much everybody else is doing to prop you up in other ways.
I mean, you are making money for the family. I mean, you're doing a lot of shit, Pete. Don't downplay your own contribution. So,
At this point, I'd rather have the time at home, and it's tough that I can't really get that right now.
honestly,
but-
and I've told you this before, I had the same problem when I worked in essentially the same place. Eventually, an hour commute is just too much.
I mean, it's not even the commute would be fine if I finished work at like 5 like a normal human being and not 8 p.m.
Yeah, well.
But
We will not
So
dwell.
let's get-
we will not dwell on your stress,
with that
Pete. We
depressing
just
stuff
love
out of the
you.
way.
Let's get to know our friend Rudy, shall we?
Hell yeah.
So, Mr. Kellner, sir,
Yes.
you were quite the. Let's reminisce a little bit about our college days. You
I'm
were
so
quite
excited.
the gym hockey player back in the day, as part of the championship heaving spleens. So please tell us. How about you tell us a little bit a fond memory about your time as part of the heaving spleens? If you're doing any sports currently, and maybe even tell us just how the sports scene in Portland is altogether.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. Oh my God, where do I start? I mean, you don't really know how good you have it in college playing intramural sports with your best buddies until you don't have it anymore.
Right. Right.
And I would do anything to be able to go back right now and just like zoom back 25 years, and just you're drinking beers in the fraternity house. And somebody realizes, oh my God, it's 9:30 p.m. Like we got to go play a gym hockey game. And then you walk down to the quad with 5 or 6 of your best buddies, and then you just get all sweaty, run around, hit each other, score some goals, and do and debrief it back at the house. Those are amazing times. And as a father, I've got a couple kids. I got a 12-year-old and a 14-year-old, and my whole like vibe is gonna be when they go to college and when they're ready to do that, I'm gonna tell them to enjoy those years and do shit
Absolutely.
like that, because those are some of the best times. And you don't really know that when you have it until it's gone, and you're then all that's left is to talk about how fun those times were.
Yeah,
I
20
still-
years later, right?
Hey man, I still have my T-shirts. I still
Nice.
Nice.
still have all my RPI intramural championship T-shirts. My wife fucking hates it.
You guys were also incredibly good, by the way. You had a
We were
bunch
really
of
good.
like semi-professional hockey players. We were just like we'd walk in all
We
drunk
were
and
really
shit.
good.
Really, really good.
Yeah.
This wasn't the league
Yeah,
that I was the team that I was on, was it? Or was that like the more casual version?
No. Oh, I think Oak was
Yeah,
the
We
goalie.
had 2 teams.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had like an
Okay.
A team, and then we had like the C team. And we had
I was probably on the C
2-3
team.
years where against all odds, that team was really good, and we had it dialed.
The team was really
it was
good.
super fun.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We made
So
that
what-
gym look real big.
So you mentioned that your kids are doing some sports. What kind of parent are you with regards to your kids playing sports? Like, are you intense, or are you kind of a little bit more laid back and let them do their thing?
I think as a parent, it's really hard to sit there and watch them and not care. Like I just don't know how you could not care. So
Right.
I care, and I'm always like, oh my God, I really live and die by their like sports achievements. But I also know they're not going to be pro athletes. They're not going to make a living doing these playing these games. So I'm like super realistic about this is just fun, and this is it's a recreation, right?
Yep.
Your goal is to have a lot of fun, meet a lot of friends, learn some life lessons, and then like develop lifelong memories and lifelong sport, kind of sport memories. But we're not taking it too seriously, but I want them to, I don't want them to strike out. I don't want them to miss that shot. When they miss a
course.
layup, I'm kind of like, oh my God, like you missed a layup, like fuck. But so I gotta I feel like I find myself, I gotta slow myself down and not, not get so into it, but try to be as chill as possible because,
There's a certain
Just
amount
get-
of lessons that only sports can teach people. And
Absolutely.
I believe that very strongly. And so my daughter is 11 now, like I said, but she hasn't really taken to many sports besides competitive swimming, which I think she really likes.
She's good at it too.
But what we're doing, and I think this phase is really important, you just got to show them a lot of shit. You're just like, look at this, and look at this, and look at this, and look at this, and let them make their own decisions and kind of start like exploring the world a little bit.
Yeah, it's finding that balance between competitiveness and support, which I think is really important.
It's really hard. They take all the things you say so fucking seriously, and you don't even notice that when they come out of your mouth. And then like 6 months later, you're like talking to them, and they're just like, "Yeah, you said this thing that one time," and I was like, "Oh, fuck."
Kids are sponges.
Yeah.
They hear everything.
The best piece of advice I ever heard about kids and parents and sports is you can't make them love it. You can only make them hate it.
That's great advice.
You know, so like if you, as a parent, you could really make them hate it by taking it too seriously, pushing them, you know, being too hard on them, whatever. You can never make them love it. You can open the door, they may walk in, but if you push them too hard, you're gonna make them hate it. So that's stuck with me ever since I heard that, and I have to remind myself, you know, that whenever I'm at the game or, you know, we're having a sports thing where I'm like, okay, my goal is to just exposure and support. They got the rest.
Very cool.
I provide
always
a huge amount of
it.
embarrassment, and just in case she feels like something she's doing is very embarrassing. So I just like, look at me, I'm an idiot.
Oh man. So we go now from the past to the present.
To the future.
Well, we'll get there.
Back to the
Is that-
future.
John, is your question going to be about the future?
No,
'Cause that'd be perfect.
it's definitely not.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, not too long ago, Steph and I visited your brewery in Hood River, Oregon called Freem. It is incredible. We were not disappointed at all. And I have to say the experience and atmosphere that you created there was a perfect fit for the area it was in. I mean, it was just this gorgeous day, serene by the water. The food, service, hospitality, the feel, and obviously the beer were all top notch. So what inspired you to start this endeavor, and what are some of the influences that went into the kinds of beer that you were brewing, the theme, and just the overall vibe?
Yeah, thanks for asking. You know, I never thought I'd be in beer. You know, when we all went to school together, we were all engineers, right? And I always had a technical kind of engineering mindset, and my first 15 years of my career worked in high tech. You guys know, as many people that work in high tech. A lot of folks end up looking for ways out at some point in their career for many reasons. You know, for me, I was traveling all the time. I mean, I was doing 250, 300,000 mile years.
Wow.
Flying around the world.
Wow. Holy cow.
I mean, I lived in, I basically spent all my time in Taiwan and Korea and Japan and China and Singapore, and I did a lot of travel, and I had babies, young kids when that really took off. So I missed a lot of those formative years because I was away. So I met, I randomly chance encounter met Josh Freem at an event when he was working at Full Sail. Full Sail Brewery is one of like the early craft breweries on the West Coast. They were founded in the early 80s.
I've had Full Sail.
I've had
very
their
good beer.
Yeah, totally. I mean, we used
Yeah.
to buy Full Sail Pale back at RPI on Hoosick Street.
Yes, we
Who's
did.
extreme? Yeah.
You remember
That Bev
you
Center,
remember that beer
Rudy, by the
wholesaler
way,
up on Hoosick?
still
Yes.
there.
Yeah.
Everything
It's
else
still
got
there.
torn down.
Right.
Hoosick Bev still going strong.
Still there.
There you go. So we used to go up to Hoosick Bev and buy Full Sail Pale, and I was like, oh my God, there's beer from Oregon. Like, how special, right? So Josh was working there, and as brewers are very much like artists, and artists don't like to be told. They don't like to be told what to do. They're craftspeople.
Yes.
And Josh, when you meet some of these special craftspeople, they're unlike anyone else. They have a romantic attachment to this craft, and some of them end up being super special because they're also engineers. They're educated. They understand brewing history. and they have a real artistic vision about where they want to take it. And Freem is one of these people, and I vividly remember meeting him for the first time, and I was so attracted to this unicorn of technology and engineering and romance and craft and vision and charisma. And he was contemplating leaving Full Sail and doing his own thing. He needed help, right? And he needed some folks to help him build a business, run the business, and kind of get it off the ground. So, like many, sort of American dream small business stories, they're not scripted, they're not deliberate. They just happen based on a chance encounter. So our story is, a total chance encounter that developed into this beautiful business relationship, and 13 years later, here we are.
That's super cool.
We're like the 60th largest brewery in the country. There's 9,500 breweries in the U.S., and we're about number 60, and we're growing, doing well. We've got 110 employees, and we're doing this cool thing. That's it's a roller coaster. It's challenging, but everything great is hard, and this is really hard, but it's really awesome.
West Coast beer is so fun too. There's so many of the same beers on the East Coast currently, and like in the New England area. And you go out and you fly into San Diego, and there's Arrogant Bastard, and they're just like, we're everywhere, guys. It's cool. And then just like the north end of the country, like you guys are just completely taking over. I think it's so awesome how like you just had this contest, right? Did you guys end up winning that contest?
We came in. We were runners up in this little like silly.
That's still pretty good.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fine. I mean,
it's pretty fun.
It's all for sure.
Yeah, but the Northwest. I mean, the reason you have such amazing brewing in the Northwest and it's super innovative is that the American brewing tradition is young. American brewing is only about 100 years old.
That's true.
And like American brewing 2.0 is only about 40 years old.
Wow.
You look at European brewing tradition, and you've got 300 plus years of brewing tradition in Europe, so they're way ahead of us. But
totally
the
different.
good news about not having a deep brewing tradition is you have a lot of innovation, right? It's so young that there's not like, oh well, we have to make yellow beer. This is the American spirit where there's a lot of innovation, there's technology, and we also end up growing some of the best hops on the planet are grown in Yakima in eastern Washington. So the real reason why, there's
True story.
The real reason there's this amazing brewing tradition in the Northwest is we have like the key ingredient of beer 2 hours away.
Yeah.
It's like why is the best maple syrup in the Northeast, right? It's because you guys have maple trees, and that's true for beer in the Northwest.
Yeah, it's a good point. I didn't really think about that. And I mean, you guys, if you ever have a chance, anyone listening, watching, if you find yourself anywhere near Oregon, by the coast there, you got to check this place out. It's pretty awesome.
Well, Rudy, I'm assuming you're distributing, right?
Yeah, we distribute to Oregon, Washington, Idaho, and California. So beer is a perishable. Beer is just like milk, right? You would never buy a carton of milk at the store without checking the date and making sure it's super fresh. That's one of the things that people don't really understand about beer is beer has expiration dates, and beer doesn't travel really well. It's got to be kept super cold, consumed quickly. So we don't like to distribute away from the northwest because freshness really declines, and we don't want to be shipping beer that ends up dying on the shelf somewhere, and collecting dust. So small business, we keep it tight, we keep it close, and we keep it really good.
Oh, don't you worry. Many of our fraternity brothers have brought Freem beer out to the Northeast, and we have partaken. It is wonderful.
Yes, absolutely. Hell yeah.
And so, to head us all up, and I have an interesting Rudy story that you probably don't even realize, but Rudy, way back in 1999, Mark, Pete, and I got to RPI, and you were already there. Mark and I joined your fraternity, and Pete should have, the fraternity Tallops on Fire in the spring and following fall, respectively. And you probably don't realize or remember this, but in meetings you used to say, and I hope you still say it, because it really did stick with me. It all gets done in the end. And it really resonated with me, an anxious kid who turned into an anxious adult. And I remind myself of that mantra, and actually, sometimes it comes up that I tell my kid that mantra to this day. So many years later, what is the best advice you think you can give our listeners, and what is some advice you've given your own kids?
Oh man, I mean that's That's heavy.
This podcast is serious.
Hey, we don't fuck around.
No, you do not fuck around. I mean, this is a question about like, parenting and leadership and all these things. And I think something I struggled with is patience. And I think the older you get, we're not kids anymore, right? We've seen a couple things, and you're in charge of raising your own.
Seen some shit.
That is a true fact.
Seen some shit, and I think patience is one of the hardest lessons to learn, because we're all like anxious. We want progress. You want to keep going forward. It's kind of like the American spirit. Americans are not typically patient people.
No, we're not.
I find myself reminding myself,
especially on the East Coast.
Exactly right.
For sure.
It's being patient and forgiving and kind and understanding with your kids, especially, but also the people that you manage, your colleagues, and just being cool and patient has been, to me, the hardest lesson I've learned, and one that serves me really well with people, because ultimately we're all in the people business, right? Everything we do, being parents, that's a people business. Working, even working in high tech or whatever you may be doing, you're still primarily dealing with people. Being very self-aware about that, and looking through problems through other people's eyes, and having patience with other folks has been the most important thing I try to reinforce every single day with my own kids and myself.
Nice. I think
that's a great point.
I think the deepness, and just to get back to the question a little bit, it all gets done in the end makes so much sense to me. And because being a kid, right, and being a person who used to do very well in school, and all of us did well in school, and being a person who used to, still very high functioning, like I'm always taking on shit and doing shit. And the idea of imperfection and accepting imperfection, I think, is really incredibly important, because I literally had a conversation with Jamie. Jamie's my daughter, Rudy, about this today. She got home and she was frustrated. She got a 95 in a test. I'm like, you got an A+, dude. Like an A+. A 95 is great. We've always told her that I'm not even going to talk to you until you get a C, right? Like, I don't care. like you're an A student, so getting C's would be like, well, what's going on? What did you miss? What didn't you understand? But it's like, she struggles with not being perfect when she feels like she should be. And I told her this. I remember my first F. Like, I remember the first test I failed, and I was crushed. I was like, it was bad. And it didn't mean shit, right? It didn't mean shit. And the idea that when you get to the end of a task and that task is completed, I think is really important to just kind of hold on to and remember. I don't know. Maybe I'm just
that's a great point,
sure.
John. I think we all have to realize, and I think all of us, because we're all grown ass men, have realized we're not good at everything, and it's impossible for us to be good or even perfect at everything. So we have to accept our imperfections. And Rudy, I really love the fact that you preach patience, especially with your kids. I wish more people did that in general. I think. Because I think maybe we would all get along a little bit better in this world if we all try to just take a step back and wonder why certain people are the way they are, right? What makes a person tick? And those have been the best. I mean, you said you do that with the people that you work with as well. Those have always been the people that I work well with that are above me. Like they don't necessarily take everything I say or do at face value. They want to try and understand the reason behind something that may have happened negatively or something.
Well,
you don't know. Sorry for interrupting.
No. You're fine.
When somebody comes in, I work in hospitality, we run a manufacturing business, but we also run a restaurant, right? Hospitality. So we deal with, guests and employees every day. And you have people that show up, sometimes not at their best. And, you've got to deal with things professionally, but you also, you don't know what's happening at home.
Exactly.
You know what just happened in the morning or last night or what they've got going on. And sure, do you want everybody to bring their problems into work? Like, of course not. But you also have to be real. Like, we're all humans, right? We're not robots. That's not the business that we're in. And the best managers are the ones who are able to accept the fact that sometimes people don't show up at their best. They can help them leave at their best, and leave work feeling great about themselves, even if they didn't have their best day coming in. And that's the magic of great leadership. Is it's not binary. This is not digital. It's an analog world, man, and you got to deal with it in an analog way.
That's a great quote, dude.
I love that. It's an analog
I
world.
like that. Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, are we ready to kick off the shindig?
Hell yeah.
Wait 1 second,
No.
guys.
Do it, Pete.
Real quick for everybody, there was an eclipse, a big one, and I hope at least people on the Northeast coast got to enjoy it. Thought that was really freaking cool. I should have mentioned that as a more positive thing of like what's new. Hopefully you all got to at least see some
Pete,
of it.
send me eclipse pictures. I'll put them on the website.
All right. I mean, mine are not great. It was unique because it was like through the clouds. So everybody was like,
Did you
you
get
see
any?
these pictures of people with glasses? And I'm like, we put on the glasses and we're like, we can't see shit.
Did you get any Corona pictures?
One.
You got one.
Corona of the
Sort
sun.
of. I got like a
Corona
half
of the
Corona- yeah,
sun.
I know. I did make that joke. But anyway,
Hashtag Jeff 'em.
So
I
did
just
we.
thought that was super cool.
Jeff, Rudy, do you remember the band that Jeff and
I don't think he was there then.
were you there? He was there for Corona. He was there
Might
for
have
2
been
full years. Had to be. Do you remember Jeff and Pikars?
Of course, absolutely.
Right. So their
I
band.
listened.
God.
I listened to the Jeffem episode
Nice.
yesterday.
Nice. Amazing. Good doing your research. I love it.
I mean, look.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Right.
All right.
let's
All
do
right,
it.
So
yes, now we're ready.
that
Sorry.
reference to Corona of the Sun was the band that Jeff was in.
Yeah.
Yes.
Back in our college
Which
days.
is still on Spotify, you guys.
Still on Spotify.
Got to get the
I am,
remix up there.
I am probably still getting 10-cent checks sent to the house to this day.
Awesome.
Amazing.
All right. First topic.
Yeah.
So it's Masters weekend, and the golf world is surrounding Augusta National in the state that Grand Slam champion Bobby Jones Jr. once called home. Now, this is the first major tournament of the year and allows golfers from all over the world to compete for the coveted green jacket. If you haven't been paying attention, though, this format is away from the norm as the Saudi-backed Live Tour has stolen golfers away from the PGA, including former number one golfer John Rahm with an unprecedented $500 million deal. So, while the creme de la creme of golfers are separated by different tours normally, the long-term strategy and plan for both are in question. So, everyone, what should the PGA and Live Tours do for the long term, and can they really both exist at the same time?
I mean, can the NFL and the XFL or the UFL exist or the CFL? I mean, they do, but the CFL struggles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the USFL and XFL had to merge to become the UFL, right?
Right.
I mean, I think that it's not exactly a one-for-one comparison, right? We're looking at a very large organization versus very small organizations, and I think Live, because of its Saudi backing, is kind of automatically bigger than it should be, right? It's like the
Just all the money in there.
right.
Yeah.
It's like the episode in the last season of Ted Lasso. It's not really a spoiler. It's just a plot of one of the episodes where the African League comes along and starts snatching up Premier League players, and they're like, "Well, you should
right.
play
They
for
were
us."
trying to
and-
make like, a super rich like
Which
Super
Europe was
League.
thinking about doing in real life.
is the reason they did that.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea of someone liking like there's just a Saudi prince who likes golf, who's like, I'm going to support a golf league. I mean, that's probably
They're throwing so much money at these golfers.
right.
Yeah.
So much
Now, is that
money.
good
I
for
don't
the
know.
game? I don't really think so. But is it going to stop the people who really like golf? You, your friends, not really me, but the people who really like golf from watching? Probably not either.
Can you have like the Super Bowl of golf where you take, after all the tournament season for both leagues, you take like the best golfer or a couple golfers from each, and
Can
then
you
they
write
compete
the-
head to head. And like
Can you write a theme song
a
for that?
super match? I know, right?
That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Rudy, what do you think?
This one hurts me, man, because I think the problem I have with the whole situation is that you have, Live is a, there's a lot of ethical challenges
Absolutely.
with Saudi-backed sports, ingress into into sports. And if you were a golfer and you were, most of the live golfers are these past their prime folks, right? Who are no longer really on the radar. They're not winning tournaments. John Rahm is
Not all of them.
Many of them are.
Brooks Koepka, I'd say, is up there as well.
But Rahm got paid after he won the Masters. So
half $1 billion.
Totally.
That's amazing.
So,
Billion. Sorry.
No one's gonna say no, right? I mean, it's happening. But
How can you say no to that? How can you say no to that?
yeah.
But you can't buy tradition, right? And ultimately, what the schism is gonna be is you're gonna have all these guys going to the Live Tour, and the PGA Tour is gonna continue to get, you're gonna shed a lot of talent. Where the schism is going to happen is the majors, right? And the majors are still going to be run by the PGA, and ultimately you can't buy your way into the majors. There's no way, Live is not going to never run the U.S. Open. They're never going to run, the Masters.
That's a really good point.
The only major that the Live golfers aren't allowed to be in is the PGA Championship, because the Masters is its own thing. And then the U.S. Open is the USGA, not the PGA.
Oh, interesting.
And then you have the British Open.
Different.
That's not really monitored by the PGA either. So that's why Live golfers are able to play the majors still, with the exception of the PGA Championship.
That's interesting. I didn't realize it was broken out that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, the Saudis have infinite money, right? There's infinite resources for them to continue to buying players, and I think they're going to ultimately end up eroding away what's been known as the modern PGA Tour. And there's going to be a merger, right? I mean, there's already, there
has to be.
There's going to be a merger, and it's going to be called I don't know what. But it's a bit of the whitewashing of the sport, and it's I think a bit of a sad it's a sad thing to see that the PGA hasn't been able to stop this.
Well, there has been a little bit. Yeah, there has been a little bit of a change. They have increased some of the purses, still not to the point where it's even close to the Live golfers making money. But I almost feel like both are just trying to be patient, because the Saudis yes, they're throwing so much money up front, and what business can you think of that has thrown like $1 billion up front and have really lasted that long? I mean, the Live Tour right now, their only TV contract that they have, I believe, is on the CW, and most people probably don't even know where their local CW channel is. So the Live Tour needs to get that money back somehow, and right now they're just not doing it. Like, what an awful business plan, right? I'm just going to throw money at it until something sticks.
Yeah.
Looking at this through the context of through the lens of a business is completely the wrong way to look at it. This is not a business. This is writing checks and just getting your name in the paper and spending money. I mean, you got to remember the sovereign, the Saudi Kingdom Sovereign Fund, their mission is to to invest in non-petroleum based assets long term, right?
Yeah.
And this is not a 5, 10, 15, 20 year game. This is a 50 to 100 plus year game. So they don't need Live to be profitable in your lifetime. Not the people in this room right now. Live will not be profitable in our lifetimes, and I hope we live long lives. That's not the point. The point for them is to create a wedge, and to get in. And they're getting into tennis, they're getting into golf. This is the thing now that that country has decided is their way
and
into
soccer.
Well, fuck yeah,
Yeah,
good point, right?
Yeah.
That already happened.
It's hard. It's a real East meets West sort of conundrum, and I think it defies business. It's not business. It's really more about society and culture, and where the world is going. As a whole, there's energy. There's defense and national security implications. This is way bigger than sports. Sports is a tool here.
Yeah.
But the goal is not sports. The goal is something much bigger than that.
So are we expecting a merger?
I think it's inevitable. I don't think the
I think it's
PGA
inevitable too.
PGA is getting eroded every day. There's not enough money in the northern hemisphere to pay enough golfers to swing sticks.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good slam dunk because we are at time.
Perfect.
You guys got a thing for me?
Oh yeah. So we Rudy will typically have something, whatever pops in your head or maybe prepared way to like introduce the next topic. It could be like something fun like next topic, or it could be like a quote from a movie that you incorporate, this is the next topic into.
I can use one of those though, Pete. I think we're good. I think you just did it. All right. Great job, man.
Okay, fine. My description of the
so guys, knowing that Rudy's here, I prepared a bunch of NHL questions, and we're gonna get on it.
Yeah.
So my favorite topic, New York sports. The legend of Matt Rempe continues, and this past week, an epic 5-on-5 brawl happened 2 seconds within the puck drop in the game against the New Jersey Devils. The brawl resulted in, check this out, 8 ejections before the game even started.
But Rempe did not get ejected.
So Rempe said, I thought we were going to have a good time, good 5 minutes in the box with the fellas getting cozy and having a good time, but they told us we were gone, and Rempe did get ejected, at least as far as I read. Rempe was a healthy scratch for Friday's matchup against the Red Wings, and the enforcer kept his streak and has a 5-26 TOI time on ice stat and a jarring 69 minutes in penalties through only 14 games. Holy shit, Matt Rempe.
Damn.
Enforcers like the Islanders, Matt Martin remembers being Matt Rempe, knowing he's trying to make an impact on the league in the very early stages of his career. But the thing that I find really interesting, with a 4-game lead in the Metropolitan Division, winning 8 of the last 10, does the existence of Matt Rempe make the Rangers better? Also, does the enforcer really even belong in the modern NHL?
I mean, yeah, the enforcer is like an old school form of hockey, right?
Yeah.
Now, but keep in mind, though, what does NHL go by? Do they go by penalty minutes? No. You have to still get goals. So while it's fun to talk about Matt Rempe, I mean, that's not a winning strategy, really.
No, but the Rangers are winning, Mark.
Well,
okay, yeah, fantastic. They're not going to win the whole thing. We're going to get in that a little later.
I don't know, man.
Please.
What do you think, Rudy?
Look, as long as hockey continues to be a physical sport, there's going to be a role for an enforcer, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's why you have enforcers in hockey, but you don't have enforcers in baseball, right? I mean, you have
that would be fun.
Hockey, and you have enforcers in football, right? Ronnie Lott, like there's free safeties that'll take your fucking head off, right? But so I think all physical sports, have these enforcer roles. Not all of them use fists. Some of them use shoulders or butts or whatever. But I think that the reality is, my opinion is the whole Matt Rempe thing is a bit of a side.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
I don't see this. And look, I mean, he didn't play tonight, so he's been a healthy scratch last couple of games. My question is he really helping the team? Is he a distraction? I don't think he's going to see much ice time in the playoffs. Guys like Matt Rempe don't win you the Stanley Cup. It's the guys who play 20 minutes a game, and him playing 3-4 minutes, getting into a fight. I think it gets the fans jacked up. It might get some of the players jacked up. It might be a good like cheerleader moment for the team in the locker room. But ultimately, I think it's it could be a bit of a distraction too, because it's a little bit goofy. It's to me it's a little bit goofy. I don't really love it. And I worry about a guy like that getting knocked out. I mean, he's huge.
He's so big.
He also kind of sucks as a fighter. I mean,
he's bad at fighting. Matt Martin kicked his ass.
Dude, this guy has super long reach. He should be beating the daylights out of guys, and he's not that good at fighting.
He's got to go to Rob Ray, the famous Sabres enforcer fighter, and learn how to fight then.
Yeah.
And just for everybody who doesn't know Matt Rempe's stats, he's 6'7", 241. So
my God.
Actual monster. An actual monster on skates.
He's a monster, right? And he's got long arms.
Guys who know better, how much height do hockey skates give you?
I mean, probably 4 inches or so if you include the blades and.
3-4 inches at least, for sure.
Crazy.
Damn, man, that's a towering presence.
How big is? Go ahead, Pete. I have a back.
I was going to say one thing that Rudy mentioned there was, enforcers don't typically win you a Stanley Cup, but I'm actually going to approach this from a different angle, and you might want to argue I feel like they have more significance in a long, grueling playoff series where, I mean, let's face it, the NHL playoffs are a battle of attrition. And that's where I feel like your enforcers, in a way, can kind of shine because, yes, to get your record in the season, to get your seeding and stuff like that, it's less important, right? It's goals, 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 fast. The league has evolved to be quick skating. But when you're in game 6 and everyone is fucking tired and you just got this punk that's just in the other team's head, right? Like this enforcer type. I mean, sometimes that can just kill the the resolve on that other team enough.
At the end of the day,
for
does it
change.
keep Artemi Panarin, who has 116 points this season, safe? Like, because there are guys on the other team that are going to try to kill him.
I think that you got to draw a distinction between an enforcer and a grinder, and a great checking player. To me,
that's true.
Who the guys that win you the playoffs are, you guys remember, defensemen like Scott Stevens from those
Scott
90s
Stevens,
Devils. Yeah. He used to just crush people at center ice. Never dropped the gloves, never fought. He would just hit people on every shift. So, but again, Rempe is it's such a he's really on the edge really of the spectrum because he only plays 2 to 3 minutes a game.
He really does.
I guess that is really
He'll literally play 4, 5, 6 shifts. He'll get into a fight on one of those shifts, and it's a fight. And I just think it's they're selling tickets. People like us are talking about them. He'll make top plays because he'll blow somebody up once in a while. But he's just really maybe 5 years from now he could grow into a real role where he's a third or fourth line checking forward, and he hits a lot of people and he makes a big impact. But where Rempe is right now, he's not an impact player. It's a show. I think they're selling tickets, and I don't think he helps you win a series. I'll bet you right now. I think if they play a 6-game series in the first round, he might play one of those games. He's not going to see much ice time at all because he's a liability. Here's true. The other thing with Matt Rempe.
Yeah.
So, what we're not talking about is he's 6'7". He's gotten suspended twice now so far this season.
Yeah.
His normal check, his elbow on a normal check goes to somebody's head. So that's
pretty dangerous.
He's had 2 hitting, elbowing major suspensions. And, if I'm the coach of the Rangers, I'm worried about him drawing a 10-minute, 5-minute major, and elbowing somebody and me losing a game because this dude is so big. He hasn't learned how to check yet without committing a foul.
Right. And he's only 21, so he's just full of vim.
He's
and
a
vigor.
rookie.
Right.
Yeah, he's got time.
Do you feel then maybe what used to be the role of the enforcer is now better served in something closer to Brad Marchand, who's definitely a punk and does some weird shit on the ice, but he also happens to be a really good hockey player.
Yeah. I think the word is agitator, to me, this is a much more skilled league than it was 20 years ago, 30 years ago, for sure 40 years ago. Back then it was smaller. It was a smaller game, slower game. Now you have guys who are all 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", 220.
And they're all fast.
They're fucking fast.
Yeah.
So an enforcer here, this traditional enforcer, this slow, pudgy guy who can fight, slows you down. What you need is the Marchand role. You need these effective agitators who could, score 40, 50 points a season, have a lot of penalty minutes, but also really, put a lot of hits on guys and have really good hands. So I think it's changing a bit. It's a much more skilled game than it was even 20 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
And time.
So
that's a good point.
I just looked this up. So Matt Rempe has played the Devils 3 times. He has a total time on ice of 5 minutes and 10 seconds in those 3 games. And yet he also has a total number of penalty minutes at 47.
Well, McDermott likes to fight too, and that's McDermott kicked his ass in this fight, this 5-on-5 brawl that was all over SportsCenter. And McDermott does like to fight. And so that's what happened. I think they were drawing, and there's just I think honestly, Rudy, you're right, because there's no reason that Rempe is on first line except to fight in the first minute of that game. Right?
Oh yeah,
totally.
This was that was decided during warm-ups, right?
Yeah, that was decided.
yeah, right. Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, they were like,
both teams are in on
you
it,
know what would be
obviously.
great? A brawl, because this is what we do now, because it sells tickets and
It
gets
was
us.
the Rangers. It was the Devils.
Yeah,
it was in the city.
Well,
I
they
mean,
all
come on,
they all
it's
knew who they were
amazing.
supposed to fight too.
Right, they all
course.
paired off. They all kicked each other's asses. It was amazing to watch, though. It was made really fun. And we should move on.
It
It
reminds
was
me.
great.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Do it, Mark.
All right.
Next topic,
Who's the next
Mark.
topic? All right, we're going to keep talking about hockey. So there's just 1 week left until the start of the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. Now, John's New York Hockey Rangers and
Hell yeah.
my Boston Bruins and the Carolina Hurricanes are actually fighting for the #1 seed in the East. Meanwhile, the Dallas Stars and, believe it or not, the Vancouver Canucks are vying for the top spot in the West. Now, last year, the Bruins broke my heart by losing in the first round after gathering the most points in NHL history.
Like they do.
And I'm somewhat expecting a similar result this year.
Like they
Now,
do.
while this crew rarely talks about hockey, we do have a hockey expert on the show today, so we're pretty much just going to give it to him. So everyone, but mainly Rudy, what are our expectations of the Stanley Cup playoffs?
Well, it's hockey's a long playoff. It's, I think, arguably the hardest trophy to win in all of sports, right?
I'd agree to that.
Yeah.
I've been watching quite a bit of hockey last month or so. I'd like to watch hockey in March and April, because then you really get to see what's going on and who's serious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It means more.
There's two teams that I'm super, super hot on, and I put all my money on two teams. I love the Florida Panthers. I'm a Ranger fan, grew up in the city. I'm in, Mark Messier, Brian Leach, Mike Richter.
Greatest
Alexi
team
Kola,
ever
like,
put together.
that was the team, right? We could talk all night about just that team.
Fucking Mike
I just
Richter,
don't believe
baby.
in the Rangers. I just don't believe in the Rangers. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Nope.
I don't
think
either.
I think the Rangers get through the first round or two, but I don't think they make it to the finals. The Florida Panthers are scary. I think they've got the best coach in the NHL, Paul Maurice. He's amazing. They went deep last year. They're a year older.
Deep last year, yeah.
They play that kind of playoff style. They just they grind. They're super well coached. I think they make it out of the East, and then on the West, man. I don't know if you guys have been watching the Stars at all. I've seen a couple Stars games last couple weeks. They embarrassed the Avalanche. They beat the Oilers. The Stars are for real. They are super good. They're skilled. They have size, and you can't name 5 players on the Stars. They're just that team. They're kind of like. They're like the Oklahoma City Thunder, of hockey.
Is Tyler Seguin still a star? He was at one point.
I don't even know anymore. It's like Jamie Benn and Robertson. They've got some young talent.
That sounds like a fake name.
I just made that up. So I mean,
Someone Canadian.
Yes.
dude. I mean, but the skill in this league right now with Kucherov leading the league in Tampa Bay. Then you've got, of course, Connor McDavid. You've got
Austin Matthews in Toronto.
Dude,
Sure.
he scored 2 goals tonight. He got 68 now.
Oh, he might get
Wow.
70.
He might get 70. That would be amazing. That hasn't
That's
been
a
done forever.
huge amount of goals.
So he's on a tear. Those guys are playing well. Then you got the Avalanche. You got McKinnon, who he had a hat trick last night. He had 3 goals and an assist.
Is he getting up there?
In terms of age?
Yeah.
No. He's
Okay.
mid-20s, late 20s. He's
Okay.
he's in like prime. He's in prime time.
Wow, I
McKinnon
feel like I've been hearing his name forever, but I guess that's the thing. When you're that good in the NHL, you get drafted so young.
been
so
around
you
for a
can, you can
while,
play
yeah.
forever. Yeah.
He's insane. He is
Okay.
unbelievable. He's got wheels. He's got hands. I mean, I think McKinnon is, what is he? He's 28 years old. So he's got plenty
Oh
of
yeah,
time.
he's plenty of time.
Plenty of time.
Yeah.
And you also have Ovechkin. Wait, although I
Ovechkin.
don't know if
He's still
Ovechkin is
playing great.
chasing, still playing great. He's 43 goals away from Gretzky's record.
He just got his 30th goal yesterday. He set the record for, I think he's got like 20 straight 30-goal seasons or something crazy.
Wow.
And all he's got to do is play 2 more years, and he'll have the record. Barring something weird or injury. So I think he's going to go. I think he's going to stay in the league until he sets that record.
Oh, he's definitely going for the record.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, look, he's got 30 goals as a 40-year-old. It's amazing.
42 away as of yesterday.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Wow.
He could do it.
I think the best hockey news of the last 5 years was Alexander Ovechkin clomping around Vegas drunk, carrying around the Stanley Cup and sleeping in fountains.
Like swimming in rivers with it. And
that was the best. That man, I love
partied.
That man.
He was living his best life.
I love it.
He deserved it. Yeah.
So
I got the Stars. I got the Stars.
Okay.
Stars to win. I don't
Against
like
the Panthers, you think? Against the Panthers, you think?
I think Stars Panthers. Yeah, I think it's going to be a 6-game series. Stars Panthers. I think Stars win it.
Do you think the Bruins are going to do better than last season, where they were expected to?
I think they'll get out of the first round.
I know that was a little shocking.
I totally expected them to lose in the first round. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't think it was going to go to 7 games, but I totally expected them to lose in the first round. They wore themselves out in the regular season.
I guess. I mean, they were so good during the season last year, and it just felt like. I mean, did you just get that feeling like something isn't right?
Also, their offensive numbers this year just aren't close to their offensive numbers last year. They're just not scoring.
Nobody's offensive.
I mean, nobody's is right. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, look, they have. I'm looking at the stats right now. They only have like the third best goal differential in the Eastern Conference. So that's a little scary. They're not the same. They're not as good as a team that they were last year.
No, of course not.
The Hurricanes are better.
Yeah.
The Rangers are better. I think the Panthers are better. The Leafs came out of nowhere. The Leafs sucked last year. So I think the Bruins may play the Leafs in the first round or the Lightning. I think they're going to have their hands full with both the Lightning.
If they face the Lightning, they're going to lose.
Yeah.
They might get swept by the Lightning.
So I think it's going to be hard for them to get out of the second, maybe get out of the first round. I'm not sure they're going to get out of the second round.
I'm still shocked at the year that Panarin is having. And as a Ranger fan, and since those years in the 90s where they were great, I have never seen an offensive player like Panarin on a New York team. It hasn't happened in a really, really long time.
Yeah. And, the Rangers, I like the Rangers because they have a lot of grinders. Panarin is the star, but you look at that lineup and, they don't have a ton of highly skilled players. I mean, there's a 40-point differential between Panarin and Trocheck in terms of scoring.
That's true.
So they got a bunch, they got a 117-point guy, and then they have, a bunch of 70-point guys. That's what you want, right? Because somebody might get hurt, and then you need, this. To me, line is the one that wins the Stanley Cup. The first line never wins a Stanley Cup.
Well, and then Adam Fox doing his best Adam Graves impersonation, right?
Dude, I mean, Adam Fox, impressive. Point game.
Yeah. I think he's a real difference maker too, like you were talking about in the Olympic question. Like a real guy who gets in there and he gets dirty, but he also scores a lot, and that takes a lot. Like you used to love watching Graves pass and play and just be kind of everywhere.
Totally. Yeah, I think you're thinking about Brian Leach.
I am thinking about Brian Leach because Adam Graves was a winger. Hey, I like to fake
winger.
I like to fake it.
So they've got, you need a defensive playmaker. They've got a couple defensive playmakers. The Rangers are a solid team. They'll be scary to play, in a 7-game series, I think.
And we're at time.
All right.
We've been at time. We're having really good.
All right, I think I got one.
That's the most hockey we've talked
I don't know
about
how
in a
this
long
is going to
time.
sound.
I got one more.
All right, ready? Hey, you got Nick Tabak? I'm sorry, what? I say you got Nick Tabak. Oh, sure. I've got a next topic.
Whoa.
I have no.
That's
Mark,
kind of a tribute. That's kind of a tribute to Snatch.
Mark, I gotta tell you, I have no idea what the fuck that was, but I really enjoyed it.
It was great.
All right, so I got one more hockey question, and this one's going to take a soundbite, Mark, so you better get ready. In an effort to give Pete the chance to lament about another Buffalo team, the Buffalo Sabres were eliminated from the playoffs this week. This marks the 13th straight season they were not able to qualify, the last time being 2010 and 2011, when they lost to the Flyers in the first round. However, there are some bright spots, and the great Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen is only 25 and 26, 22, and 3 this season with a 2.58 goals against average and a .91 save percentage. And this
not to mention a bunch of shutouts.
And not to mention, I was going to say it, a bunch of shutouts. He's tied for third in the NFL with 5 shutouts. So, and they also have the makings of a young, talented blue line in Bowen Byram and Rasmus Dahlin. So with 2 seasons of tanking in the recent past and a lot of other struggles, what can the Sabres do to get better fast, and is this drought destined to continue?
So I think maybe what let them down this year, we'll start at the top line, and it's just the top players did not pull through this year like they did last year. And I feel like the depth is better, but then every time, it's like when they get one thing, they don't have the other. You mentioned that a couple of years where they tanked. That was to get Jack Eichel. I mean, really, it was to get Connor McDavid, but they lost the lottery. So they got Jack Eichel, who is still a great player, currently in Vegas. And it just wasn't the right fit. It just never worked out. The expectations were so high, and I feel like that team never worked together. So you had this, like Ryan O'Reilly and Eichel, these top really good players, but nothing underneath them either. And then, so now they're all gone. And there's kind of a younger crop of these guys like Tage Thompson, the center, who's another massive man. I think he's like 6'6" or 6'7". Yeah, he's another massive dude. He's their center. And John, you mentioned Rasmus Dahlin. He's their, who was a number 1 pick. They got him when they did win the lottery. So they do have a good blue line and a really good first pairing. The problem is, it's not performing like their top scorers, like Jeff Skinner, right? He's still hanging around there. Alex Tuck kind of disappeared for the first half of the season. Like, it's just a lot of players that were expected to score a lot of goals. It just didn't happen, and they got much better as the season went on. And Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen did his thing, but I have to say it like that every time.
Every time.
But they just got up to such a slow, sluggish start, and I feel like their first line let them down.
That's a consensus on the internet that they're not even slow to start in the season, which they were, but they're also just slow to start in games to just like get comfortable with each other and just like start to play as a unit.
Yeah, I feel like they're the team that can, if you do like a road trip to a team and play them twice in 3 days, they'll beat them 7-0 one night and then lose 6-1 the next night, and it's just what? Like it's so inconsistent. Yeah, I think they need to trade for some really stellar talent. I don't know at what. I haven't followed them closely enough because they're always blacked out. Whether it's wingers or maybe more depth.
Does Pagula own them as well?
Yeah.
And I mean, is he less
first?
It seemed like he was very invested in making hockey work in Buffalo, and it's just sort of the focus, and I think maybe the Bills got better faster, but I think the focus has switched to the Buffalo Bills now.
Oh, it definitely did, and I think that's just because it's it's more money in the NFL than the NHL. It kind of demands a bigger thing.
It's more than that. I mean, you need to have the right people associated with. I mean, Buffalo they haven't hit on a lot of good draft picks, so
yeah,
maybe they don't have the right people in the front office.
It's, and as you say that they've been, and the coaches too. I mean, they had Phil Housley, former Sabre, amazing player. I think Hall of Famer, maybe defenseman. He pioneered the offensive defenseman, sort of. He might be Hall of Famer, but not a good coach. Those were wasted years. And then they got Ralph Kruger, who was over in Europe, I think, coaching soccer, or was the GM of a team over there. And they brought him back to coach hockey when he hadn't coached hockey in years, and he was even worse. So it's just all those years just lost. This completely not coached well at all. I don't think they made the playoffs since they got rid of Lindy Ruff. And like you mentioned,
it's been 14.
Wow,
it's been 14 years now, bro. It's been a minute.
Who's still a good coach in the league. I mean, maybe he's not the best, but he's still decent. Like, I'd take Lindy Ruff back over like any of the coaching they've had. I don't know, what are your thoughts on this, Rudy? You know a little bit more about the NHL than I do.
I mean, I think this is a classic small market team kind of thing, right? Where it's a small market team. They're never going to be like the number one destination for free agents. They're never going to have the kind of money to spend on folks that other teams do. So, how do you win in that situation? Either draft well or you outcoach and, basically outmanage other small market teams. You play Moneyball, right? And I think you guys are right. I don't think they've had the front office to do that. And they certainly haven't, drafted super well. The Eichel years were wasted.
Yeah.
I mean, you see, Eichel won a Stanley Cup in his first or second season down in Vegas. So,
first year, I think.
First year, yeah, which is great, like for him. But I think when you look at these small market teams, and I could talk about the Portland Trailblazers all day long because Blazers, it's kind of like the Blazers are the Sabres of basketball, right? We had our Pat LaFontaine. His name was Clyde Drexler, right?
Clyde.
Yeah, so we had that era, that golden era, where you had some amazing players that you won a lot of games with, like LaFontaine, and then Alexander Mogilny did.
Yep. Oh, they were perennial playoff
those
teams.
guys were amazing, right?
Teams.
And then Dominic Hasek. Yep.
Dominic Hasek.
Yeah, they were in the Cup Finals at the end of the end of the 90s.
Yeah, but again, I think it's like with other sports, the economics have changed. I think it's become harder for small market teams to compete, and you need somebody. You need like a big signing to then pull other big signings in. I mean, you look at what's happened in the NBA with Giannis, and how Giannis was able to get Damian Lillard, right? Right. That team was going nowhere, but you got a guy like Giannis, and then he gets a guy like Lillard, and all of a sudden you're dancing. I think with these smaller kind of mid-market teams like the Sabres, you got to get lucky on some amazing draft picks, and then you got to hope those guys attract some free agents in to do like 1 + 1 is 3. Because you're just never going to be able to outspend the bigger teams, and coach some of these bigger teams who could afford the front office and afford the coaching talent.
That's a good point.
Yeah, well said.
I think a real money goaltender, like the teams that you remember in the last number of years, right, have really like the Mike Richters and the
Ed Belfour,
the Marty Brodeur,
I was thinking of Brodeur, not Belfour. I mean, Belfour was decent, but
like the really hot playoff goalies. And I mean, like, I think Pekka Luukkonen has a real shot of being the real deal in the NHL. But the problem is the offensive numbers of the Sabres just really aren't there.
Yeah,
at least they weren't this year. Last year, the first half of the season, actually, they had great offensive numbers, but then it tapered off. It's like they just can't keep it going consistently.
Yeah, but when your top guy, has 70 points, right? It's like
it's just not enough.
No, and that's exactly what happened. Like,
that's 10 years ago, right? You could be successful if your top guy's got 70 points. I mean, Alex Tuch has 59 points.
Yeah. And he's supposed to be one of their top scorers. Yeah. That's not enough.
I mean, hell, Kucherov is going to finish. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Kucherov's got like
almost 3 times
135.
Right.
Yeah. There's 3 or 4 guys that have double the amount of points than Tuch does. I mean, that's the game right now. It's a fast game. This is a scoring game in this year's the NHL right now.
Yeah. Everyone loves offense.
You can't put scorers on the ice.
Everyone loves offense.
You're not going to be going anywhere.
Yeah, I think Tage Thompson even too went from like 46 goals last year down to like 30, maybe under 30 this year. Like it was a huge drop in production.
It's just too much.
Yeah.
As John Madden once say, it's hard to beat another team when you don't outscore them.
And time.
Indeed.
Perfect.
Is it my turn?
I don't know.
It is your turn.
John blanks here.
John blanks on next topics.
Yeah,
it's all right, Pete. You've done your fair share, man. You have. It's okay.
All
right. Unfortunately, I do not have another hockey question. We're going to actually slide to the NFL now. Now, the Steelers have made headlines this offseason by stealing pretty much all of the unwanted mobile quarterbacks in the league. So they picked up Russell Wilson for the veterans minimum with the from the Broncos because they're still paying them mucho dinero. And they traded for Justin Fields for a ham and cheese sandwich.
Ham and cheese sandwich.
Mike Tomlin, who's their head coach, has incidentally never had a losing season in the 16 years that he has been coaching the Steelers, but I feel like he needs to start fresh at the QB position after a lackluster offensive season. So while the husband of Sierra is pushing good vibes, a lot of people, including myself, are betting on a lot of turmoil occurring for the city of Three Rivers. So everyone, who do we expect is going to be the starting quarterback for the Steelers, and will that person last the whole year?
Well, I mean, Russ is gonna start, right? Russ is gonna start week 1.
He'll start the year. Yeah.
Is he?
Yes, Russ will start week 1. And I think the plan, and obviously I don't know, but the plan to me feels like Russ for free, essentially, to tell Justin Fields, who's never had a vet in his QB room, how to be a good QB is the plan. I think that's the plan. So I think Russ probably plays 2 or 3 weeks as long as Justin Fields is ready and Fields finishes the year. That's how I see it going.
Rudy, you?
I mean, I think, I'm a big Russell Wilson fan. Living in the Northwest, we fell in love with him.
Exactly. He probably should have won 2 Super Bowls.
Really should
They
have
just needed
one.
to give that ball to Marshawn Lynch.
Let him run it in, guys.
Dude,
Fuck.
let him run it in.
2 freaking yards from the master of like knocking people over.
Dude, I mean, that's. I think we could, spend all night talking about that call. That's Pete's folly, right? Pete Carroll's folly, right there. But
Yep.
I mean, look, Russell Wilson's 35 years old. You got to worry about him. He lost some time there in Colorado. So I agree with you guys. I think he starts the year, but I don't know. This might be Tomlin's first losing season. I just don't think he's got any pieces.
He's still got a good defense.
Hot take.
Yeah, I don't think Russell Wilson plays 16 games. I think he'll play.
No, he definitely doesn't.
4, 5, 6, and then who knows who's going to finish out the year? Maybe somebody that's not even on the roster.
Maybe.
I mean,
I could see them turning to Fields at
comparatively to the Bears, and both teams don't have a ton of skill players, but comparatively to the Bears, the Steelers have better skill players. Najee Harris is the real deal. George Pickens is the real deal. Freiermouth isn't. And what we talked about last week, I think the model of the NFL right now is a top quarterback and a top tight end. So I think that they'll struggle with that. But having a real coach and having a real mentor for Justin Fields, I think is going to go a long way because I think the skill pieces are there for him at least. I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I never feel like Pittsburgh has the right philosophy, and maybe that's just because Tomlin is more of a defensive-minded coach, or they're just conservative, and it doesn't fit the modern NFL. But yet, it's always good enough to get you your 9-10 wins. I feel like you need an outstanding quarterback to kind of break that. And that was Ben Roethlisberger in his prime for so many years, and they got so comfortable with that it kind of, I hate to say it, kind of like how Belichick is with Patriots. Like, you can afford to be a little bit more conservative and defensive minded when your quarterback is running your offense for you, and he's one of the best that's ever played.
Think about it though. They went 500 with Kenny fucking Pickett.
Yeah.
I mean,
right, because
Kenny Pickett, a garbage quarterback and admittedly garbage skill players, and Tomlin still keeps them somehow winning.
He somehow pulls it out. Winning year every single year.
Yep. And I mean, they have great defense on that team for sure. That was kind of my other.
TJ Watt is a beast.
Yeah, he's one of the best defenders in the league. I mean, I think he was last year until he got hurt.
As well as Alex Highsmith. I mean, their defense is very, very good.
Yeah. So I mean, you have that support blanket, but I feel like because you have that defense, like maybe a different coaching philosophy would be maybe we take more risks on offense, and I just feel like they're not the team to do that. Do you think Russell Wilson still has enough physical talent in there to do something?
No, that's not Russ's job. in
No,
Pittsburgh.
it's not.
His job in
Yeah, but
Pittsburgh is
in Russ's mind, he is QB1, and
He's
he
still
thinks
the guy.
he's going to be the guy.
I still don't
Yeah.
think I don't think that's true at all.
Yeah.
I think that's what he thinks. Whether or not that's what's going to happen is another story. I want to kind of shift a little bit.
The plan feels really clear to me, though. Which is like that's why I'm harping.
Do you think the plan? You think the clear plan is for Russell to be kind of a short-term mentor?
Yep.
Yeah,
Justin Fields, and to kind of hand it off.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it just
agree. I
happened
think
so
that's what
quickly.
Pittsburgh
It happened
thinks.
so quickly.
Yeah.
It was just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Again, I think Russ thinks he's QB1.
Tomlin has now been on the record saying that there are a lot of bones left on that meat in reference to Justin Fields. He said that in an interview.
That I believe. I mean, I'm kind of glad in some ways that he got out of Chicago, because I feel like they didn't really manage him right either.
They didn't.
I don't
I'm
know if
glad
he
you
went to the
mentioned
right
Chicago.
team.
Chicago.
I want to pivot a little bit. So everyone
Okay.
thinks that Chicago's going to get Caleb Williams.
They will.
And now they're building around him, which they didn't do to Justin Fields. They did him dirty by not giving him some weapons. These are the weapons that they have now picked up for presumably Caleb Williams. Keenan Allen from the Chargers. They also have DJ Moore.
They had
and
DJ
they
Moore
picked
last
up-
year.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. They did. DeAndre Swift, they picked up as well. And on defense, they have Montez Sweat.
Sweat Montez, baby.
Those are some big
as
names.
John likes to say, yeah. But they picked up some big free agents.
They did.
In anticipation of Caleb Williams. Why didn't they do the same thing to Justin Fields?
Because he wasn't Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
I mean, it is not an unreasonable thing to say. The quarterback class last year wasn't that good. Caleb Williams or Justin Fields was not a number one pick. And I mean, in all intents and purposes,
But he was 2 years ago.
Well,
right?
he was 3
years ago. How old is Justin
where
Fields?
did they
I don't remember.
he was number 2, right? Or was he number 3?
I'm looking it up.
Forget.
Now.
But you're right though. I mean that was the class with Mac Jones.
Yeah.
Who else is in there? There weren't any like standout like this is the best QB.
No. They did.
11.
That was
by
also
the way.
Trey Lance.
11th pick, which in quarterback
But no,
quarterback
those are
terms,
turned
That's
out.
right. Because I was hoping he was going to fall to the Patriots.
in quarterback
Right.
terms, Justin Fields at 11 pick is essentially an offensive lineman. I mean, really, think about it.
I still have faith in Justin Fields.
I
really
do too. I do too.
Well,
I think
and
he's
I'm
going to do
definitely
much,
rooting
much
for
better.
him.
And I think that, Chicago is understanding that they probably wanted to always take the number one pick quarterback, and they didn't have the right one last year, and they probably do this year.
Guess we'll see how the chips fall.
We shall see. We shall see. Right, Mark?
Time will tell.
I like Mark Satan. Consider make me laugh. You guys got a next topic for me? I think that was probably good, right?
And now we'll
got
see
nothing.
where the next topic falls.
Well,
that
we're
was
gonna
dumb.
have to talk about something really important. In a shocking defeat, the New York Knicks defeated the Boston Celtics by 9 this evening.
Just now.
Just now.
Wait,
Late
is this
breaking
a
news.
Topic shift.
Late breaking news. And so I had a New York Knicks question, which I think I'm going to ask. We're talking about an earlier game this week after dropping 40 points and leading a comeback victory against the Milwaukee Bucks. 39 points against the Celtics tonight. Jalen Brunson let the press know that coming in 6th in ESPN's MVP voting meant nothing to him. Brunson has been putting the now the third place Knicks on his back, his now 9th 40th point game, 10th tonight, essentially. This season puts him 3rd overall in the Knicks behind Bernard King and the great Patrick Ewing. Brunson also...
Really?
Yep. Brunson also completely outplayed in this Bucks game Giannis
Antetokounmpo. Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Just call him Giannis.
Just call him Giannis, who finished 4th in said ESPN MVP poll with 334 votes. With probably the best bargain deal currently in the NBA at $104 million over 4 years, Brunson is now playing for that elusive contract year. Can you tell?
He's going to get a max deal.
Can the Knicks afford to play Brunson next year? If they continue to have success with him, can they afford not to?
I mean, they have to pay him that max deal. He is their team.
The whole
That
fucking
team-
thing.
that team revolves around him, and he's I mean, he stepped up his game ever since
Randall went down.
Justin Randall went down.
Mhm.
I mean, yes, congrats to the New York Knicks who beat the Celtics, even though the Celtics have decided they don't care about winning anymore until the playoffs. So, I mean, but I still don't think the Knicks have what it takes to really go far.
I mean, we've been talking about this all season, Mark. Can you keep saying that?
I do.
You do, and it just keeps
there's
looking.
There's nothing that is going to change my mind.
Well, the sixth
unless
place
they actually do it.
The sixth place Knicks are now the third place Knicks, and they just beat you guys.
Well, it's so funny when you look at the standings of the Eastern Conference in the NBA. You have the Celtics that are up by, I think it's either 13 or 14 games.
It's a little bit.
games,
It's a little bit. It's a little bit.
But then the rest of the seeds are separated by like 5 games.
That is true.
It's ridiculous. Like, everyone is so close to each other. Now the Bucks were supposed to be the obvious number 2, and then they decided they were just gonna lose to every single team except the Celtics.
Yeah, the difference between 2 and 8 right now, the difference between the Bucks and the Heat are 5 games, which honestly is wild when you think about
that
it.
That margin is so small that you could easily start this week being the number 8 seed, and by the end you're the number 2. It's possible.
That's
not likely, but it's possible.
Yeah.
So
I mean, look, there's 2 games left, so it's kind of over. But yeah, I mean, I think you make a good point. They're all bundled together, and I think the question is, does it really matter? Because I think it's going to be a Celtics Bucks Eastern Conference final, right? It's hard to imagine anybody else getting out of the East other than the Celtics or potentially the Bucks.
I'm
not convinced. I'm not convinced the Celtics are the team to beat. The East. You know why? They suck in clutch.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, you don't win 62 games by sucking in clutch. Who else is going to?
What are you talking about? They're beating everyone by like 20 points, but when it comes to like close games, like in points and in games that are decided by I think 3 points or less, I think they're like 3-7 or something like that.
The Bucks are in deep trouble. The other, you could convince me that the Bucks could be there too, but Giannis just got hurt a couple of days ago. He's limping around.
He did get hurt. He did.
Around. He's
not an Achilles injury. Not an Achilles injury. We think.
Yeah, but it's not good, man. I mean, that guy is built on. He's a leaper, right? He's a runner. He's a leaper, and what are you gonna do? Like tell him to run at 80%? In the first.
He can't do that. Giannis doesn't know 80%.
No, and without Giannis, the Bucks are just another team. Like I love Damian Lillard, and but it's. We tried that in Portland. He was, you can't go deep with just one guy. So
nope.
I don't know. I think the Knicks are great. They're going to pay Brunson. They have no choice because
they have to.
It is. You guys are right. It is their team. I think the Knicks are going to, win a series or 2. Hell, they might make it to the Eastern Conference Final, but I don't see the Knicks going, too far. I think Boston's way too talented.
The old school Knicks fan in me obviously clearly is scared of the Pacers, but maybe not the 2024 Pacers. So I think we beat the Pacers. Whoever comes next, I mean, you can hope. The Knicks have to stay healthy. That's I think.
So if the Knicks finish with the 4th or 5th seed, then they face the Celtics potentially in the second round.
Well, they're going to finish with the 3rd seed, maybe the 2nd seed.
So if they finish with the 2nd, then more than likely they play the Bucks, or the Magic, or the Cavs. There's so many fucking possibilities.
There's a lot of good teams in the East. You said it. I mean, it is very true. The top 8 are close, and they're all very talented. They all have a lot of very good players. I think the Knicks last playoff, they got beaten on the boards by the Heat pretty badly. The Heat obviously not the same team that they were, but Randall being down really sucks. And Nube is almost a fill for that. He's very scrappy. I think he's
scrappy.
I think he's mostly healthy at this point. Josh Hart being back really helps for the Knicks. I think that was very lucky. Losing Randall, I think with Randall, the Knicks are an honest contender. I think without them, it's a little bit
But they don't have Randall, exactly.
Shut the fuck up.
Does it really matter? I mean, the Nuggets are going to win it all again. Have you guys been watching the Nuggets? They are scary,
I don't know.
Dude.
I mean, they're good.
Scary.
And they have that home court advantage being, 5,280 feet in above sea level. I don't see them repeating. I don't.
I think the West is going to be a bloodbath. The West.
I think
is
so
gonna be
too. That's why
unbelievable.
I don't think the Nuggets are gonna make it to the finals. I think someone else gonna beat them.
Maybe the Thunder or the Wolves.
I
Maybe
don't get the Thunder.
maybe
the
the
Wolves.
Wolves.
I think the Wolves have the Twin Towers.
Yeah. Holy shit, they do.
Have you seen Anthony Edwards play? That guy.
He's
is
out of his
insane.
mind now.
He is the second coming of Michael Jordan. Unbelievable. What a
Damn.
man.
That's high.
He's unbelievable. You guys need to watch more Anthony Edwards. He's sick. He's the best player in the NBA right now.
It's a shame it took him so long to get to this level because the Cavs drafted him #1 overall in anticipation that he would play like he's playing, but it took him a while to get to this point.
This has been his breakout year. I mean, this is the year where
This is
he
I
goes
think
from
his
being
6th or 7th year, and he's been like
Anthony,
a role.
No,
Is it-
fourth year. Anthony
Is
Edwards
his
was
fourth year?
Yeah, he was the first round. He was the first pick in 2020. So
Oh, it seems like so much longer ago.
yeah, no, and every year he's scored more points, more. I mean, he's just becoming this complete player. He's a monster.
He's gone from a 19
He
point
could
per
take it
game
deep.
player to a 26 point per game player, which is actually, I mean, for an average, is a really pretty sizable jump. I think the more important thing is that his assists per game are going up, so he's becoming kind of more of a complete guard.
Well, it's a team. They're a good team.
Yeah.
They not only have good players, they're a good team. All right, shall we?
If Cat stays healthy, they're good.
Yeah, he needs to stay healthy.
You need to stay healthy.
All right.
It is time for the next topic, okay?
So the name John Calipari brings forth polarizing reactions from college basketball fans. Now, the folks by me remember him at UMass Amherst back in the day with Marcus Camby and making the Final Four, but also lots of controversy revolving about how Camby got recruited and how he's able to maintain eligibility. Now, more recently, he's led the Kentucky Wildcats with a strategy to use the one and dones, and we're playing pretty much. I'm sorry. I need to repeat that. More recently, he led the Kentucky Wildcats with the strategy to use one and dones that were really only playing college ball because the NBA wouldn't let them in yet. While he did win a title in 2012, the addition of the transfer portal and NIL money has pretty much shut down Calipari's strategy, and the folks in Lexington have been pretty much calling for his head. So, news broke out that Calipari was bound for Fayetteville, Arkansas, which coincidentally I visited in a former life. So everyone,
Former life.
do we feel it's a good move for John
were you a
Calipari
duck?
to go from coaching Kentucky to Arkansas?
I mean, that's kind of a step down, I would think.
Kentucky is a blue blood. Arkansas, not so much.
Yeah.
Did they back a truck of money up to his house? I didn't hear this story.
The deal, I believe, is not quite finalized, but Arkansas was a formidable school at one point with, what was that head coach's name? I can't remember. They actually did either win a title or they were in like a Final Four with a particular coach back in like the 90s. And I can't remember what his name was. I can picture his face. I can't remember what his name was. But Arkansas has not been really a powerhouse school in any sport.
Yeah,
Like
so it's been a while.
They've had some decent basketball teams, but nothing fantastic. And then football is all right, but they're not when you think of a powerful college basketball team, you don't think of Arkansas.
No, I mean,
Can you imagine?
Come on, John Calipari got fired. I mean, you know,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
they don't use that word, but you know, he got fired and he found the next best deal, and Arkansas paid him a bunch of money because they wanted to be in the. This is nothing about him being a great coach. This is him about him. You know, I mean,
He was on the way. He would have been fired. This is essentially him getting fired.
He hasn't been to the Final Four since 2015.
He's lost in the first round of the tournament in the last 2 years.
oof.
This is not the same John Calipari we used to talk about in Massachusetts or Memphis or Kentucky. This is a guy that's kind of like somewhat washed up. He's going to make a ton of money. He's going to win some games. He's going to make the tournament. He might make a Sweet 16, but I don't see anything any more than that coming out of this.
Do you think he's going to stick to the one and done strategy, or is he actually going to use the transfer portal now?
I think he's going to have a hard time attracting the kind of talent to his new school than he did to Kentucky. Kentucky was more of a name. I think it's gonna be more challenging now for him to get guys to show up, because he's gonna be competing with Duke, with UNC.
With NIL though, I mean, believe it or not, Fayetteville, Arkansas has got 3 major corporations that are near Arkansas. There's Walmart, there's Tyson, and I can't remember the third one.
Well, I'll tell you, and the way I read this story is that John Tyson actually contacted John Calipari, and John Tyson being a major contributor to the Arkansas backers program, contacted John Calipari and said, hey, the athletic director's in town. You should go meet with him. And I think that this was even more than him being fired, just some rich guys talking about a plan and making it happen. And John Calipari just being like, wanted to find the place where he would make the most money, and it turned out it was Arkansas.
Yeah.
But
It'll
you
be
don't think
interesting
that
to see what happens.
I saw.
Yeah, I mean, what if this is a fresh start? That it helps kind of clear his head and maybe like reset a little bit, or gets back to like, I don't know, some hard work ethic that he lost, or was resting too much on laurels in Kentucky.
I don't even think it's that. I think literally the Arkansas Backer Club wanted to win some games, and the way that most athletic organizations start is with getting a really high-end high-end coach. Like I've seen this movie before. You go and you get the fancy coach from the fancy school, and then he builds the team, and then you win, and then you make money. I mean, I don't know.
That's how it's supposed to go.
Yeah, and I mean, look, if you're Arkansas, you're pretty happy about what just happened, right? I mean,
absolutely.
They have a much.
Sure.
I would say as an Arkansas fan, you're pretty stoked. I think the question was, is it good for John Calipari? I think it needed to have. He needed a change. He was going nowhere at Kentucky, so I think you needed to go somewhere. He got paid, and if you're Arkansas fan, you're pretty stoked. I think he's going to have a hard time competing at that school against some of the bigger ACC schools, because I think they're going to draw more talent, but do some damage.
Do you think that John Calipari still has like the name recognition that some of the other major coaches still has to kind of draw young talent, to be like, hey,
absolutely,
come play with me. I'm John Calipari. I've won national championships.
Absolutely.
Yeah. He's not a top 5 coach anymore. I think he's a top 10 coach.
Yeah.
But he's not a top. He was a top 5 coach for a long time, right? For a good.
I mean, he can still convince people. It's like, I know how to get you to the NBA.
Right. And I mean, that's the goal, right? I have gotten people to the NBA before. I know what it takes. I know what you have to do.
Yeah, totally.
So the head coach of the University of Arkansas basketball team was Nolan Richardson, and they won the title in 1994.
That is a minute ago.
Okay. Damn. It's like 1 year away from when the Bills were in the Super Bowl last, which feels like forever ago.
Aw, Pete. Ready?
So sad. So sad. Anyway.
Are we ready?
I think so. Are you ready?
Oh, did we get there already?
Yeah, well, it's 11 o'clock, man. Time to go to bed.
It's the final topic!
I just let him go, Rudy. Nice. I don't even try to stop it anymore.
Amazing.
I can't wait till we get that cease and desist letter.
It's never going to happen. It's an original material.
I'll be so proud of you guys. Our little podcast has grown big enough to draw a lawsuit.
Don't say it. You say it, it's real.
No, I don't want to will that into
It's
existence.
an original work of art. God damn it.
It's more than 40% changed.
We haven't talked about it in a minute, so let's talk about AI. On Tuesday, Intel detailed a new version of its AI chip at the Vision event held in San Francisco. This effort takes direct aim at the money-making machine that is currently NVIDIA. Tech companies are desperate for an alternative source of chips needed, and Intel is claiming its new Gaudi 3 system can train an LLM 50% quicker than NVIDIA's prior generation H100 and H200 processors. In a quote, Stability AI said alternatives like Gaudi accelerators give us a better price, performance, reduced lead time, and use with our models. And so, how important is a competitive market in a bludgeoning industry like AI? And as the options begin to adopt AI and AI appliances in their common business practices.
Oh man,
the words got stuck in my mouth. Well, Pete, I thought you were going to rant on how NVIDIA's the devil and how they should get the money taken away from them, and how the AI industry, being a sole monopoly currently, is unfair business practices, because it currently certainly is.
Of course. Yeah. Thanks for, I was just kind of in a stupor there. So yeah, I mean, we need competition. AMD does have their own kind of data center level GPU driven processors as well, but it's just, no one's competing with NVIDIA right now in that space. And it's to the point where NVIDIA is doing kind of predatory prioritization of who gets their products and who gets infinitely delayed. And it's to the point where, like, if you buy from other companies or insult NVIDIA or do anything that they don't like, they'll just keep telling you, oh no, we're just delays in shipment, and to production delays, and you'll never get your stuff. And this is on an enterprise scale. They're playing these kind of games. They are a bully, and they are pretty much like a $1 trillion company that no one can, that's just run amok and has no one to discipline them, basically. So, I mean, the only thing you can do at this point is make something else that makes NVIDIA stuff seem irrelevant. I don't think
who can do that.
Well, it seems like Intel's giving it a shot. I don't know if they're going to catch up because, like John said, this new thing that they have can train an LLM 50% quicker than NVIDIA's prior generation stuff. They have Blackwell now. That was their whole big thing at GDC. I think it was GDC. It was a conference recently.
It was GDC.
Yeah. So they unveiled this absolutely ridiculous thing that basically, here's what blows my mind: 1.4 exaflops in one server rack.
That's a funny word.
A few years ago, we were like, we're never going to hit that in an entire data center building, and they just unveiled something that has it in one rack.
Yeah.
How do you compete with that?
Well, I mean,
the
only way you can do it is
of
visual processing. I mean, when you think about it, and for the layperson, you think about the amount of calculations that your eyeballs do, right? You're just to be calculating on a visual level, it just increases the amount you can do and really modernizes the whole idea of neural computing and chips needed for AI networks. Is that right? You're talking about a different level of process as far as speed and throughput.
And the demand is so high at this point that, I mean, maybe that's where Intel gets in, and at least they'll get some market share, only because NVIDIA literally can't make them fast enough. So, I mean, obviously there's demand there. And
the Gaudi 3 being a rack system, not a singular chip. I mean, this is what we're developing. We're developing an appliance that manages AI process.
Yeah. This is big scale stuff.
Big scale, not small scale.
And I guess maybe the conundrum is, say Intel puts this out and it doesn't have 1.4 exaflops in one rack, but hey, you'll get your per computation cheaper than NVIDIA, and it's available. Some people don't care, especially in this space where you have so much money that you're willing. This is like Google and Apple, like this level that are throwing their shit at this. They have so much money where they don't care about cost efficiency. They want density.
No, they don't give a shit about
who has the highest thing there.
Well, I went to an Apple event today, and the Apple event today was essentially an advertising effort for Vision Pro, which, by the way, super cool. It was super fun, and they talked about a lot of
super cool and super expensive.
They talked about a lot of really cool things, but one of the things they talked about is that they've been doing neural chips for a while, and that the M4 can really do that. I mean, as far as
on a personal scale, yeah,
right, on a personal scale, and I asked, I said, hey, it was funny. I was like, hey, Art, do you want to talk about the LLM that Apple is invariably developing? And they were like, I can neither confirm nor deny that, but it might be at the event in June. But the idea is that all the big four need to hit this mark because this is where the money is currently. This is what is happening in technology right now. You have
get it while it's hot.
You have to get in on AI. Your AI has to be right and correct, and you have to increase business practices and promises before enterprise. And that's what's happening right now. Enterprise is starting to decide what AI looks for them, and AI being kind of a misnomer in terms, LLMs and large language models and pattern recognition. Like, what does that look in a production scale?
Yeah, but the other kind of thing to know is that Intel has missed the last two major technological shifts in chips, right? Intel was ahead about 30 years ago. That was the last time that they were really very relevant, right? Intel missed mobile completely. Intel completely missed mobile, and then Intel missed graphics, right? And really, when we say AI, what are we really talking about? We're talking about graphics processors, right? And I mean, remember 20 years ago, we were buying NVIDIA graphics cards to play our video games, and nobody really had any idea that 15, 20 years later, graphics cards would be running enterprise machinery. Because that's the way the firmware ended up developing. So, to me, competition is great. Of course, it's necessary. But I have I have zero confidence that Intel is going to be the one to really lay down any serious competition. They're a broken company. They don't know how to manufacture anymore, and they've shown to be late. Shown to be late on every design node over the last 20 years.
Especially their main desktop CPU line is just constant promises without delivery.
It's a disaster. I mean, I used to sell equipment to them, and they were a good customer of ours, but we saw, TSMC just completely run circles around Intel from a manufacturing standpoint, and Intel never really, developed anything meaningful in mobile, and they didn't develop anything meaningful in graphics. So I don't know. I think Intel's trying stuff. Good for them. But I don't see any threat to NVIDIA on the horizon. I think NVIDIA is going to continue to dominate. I think their challenge is going to be making sure they have a sustainable manufacturing supply chain, because NVIDIA doesn't manufacture any of their own stuff, right?
Right.
Completely dependent on third-party manufacturing. And that's NVIDIA's big weakness.
And
somebody's got to make your stuff.
And
that's a liability,
right? And that is why they're they'd be selling even more if they could. They literally can't make them fast enough. I think they're back ordered now, probably at least a year.
And just because I was curious, I looked it up. Nvidia closed today at $906.16 a share, which is mind-boggling for a publicly traded company.
How is that not split?
I don't know.
Mind-boggling. That's as a real amount.
Yeah, look at the 3 or 5 year chart on that. That's even more mind-boggling.
Oh, it's
Wow.
They took the money that they got from the stupid cryptocurrency mining and just threw it into some. At least this is more useful, I feel like.
Well,
way more useful.
And to just point that out for anybody who is listening, in the beginning of 2023, NVIDIA was trading at $145 a share. Still a lot less.
That's damn. Now I really wish I would have just bought a bunch of stock.
Yep. And then Pete could be taking us on vacation. Right. Jesus, Pete.
Come on.
I know.
Be better at investing.
I know.
What's
Had I known.
Before we go, what's the solution? Do we let Nvidia rule the world? Is there anything that we can do to even stop it? And I guess what's next in technology, right?
Yeah. Does antitrust step into this now? I mean, do they force them to divorce the GeForce, like make GeForce its own company, right? They're not, like Rudy said, they're not manufacturing them, right? That's pretty much TSMC or Samsung in the last 4 or 5 years.
I don't think antitrust comes into this because they really haven't done anything in their business practices to price anyone else out of the market. They've just been better than everyone else.
I guess. Right, and I guess they're not horizontal enough. I guess, if that makes sense, of a company where they're not so broad into so many different industries that it kind of would be easy to break up.
Totally, and like I think the reality is, Nvidia is going to make a lot of money, but the consumer-facing AI really has nothing to do with Nvidia, right? Nvidia is the engine. They're the boiler room. The AI companies.
Yeah, most people don't know about NVIDIA.
No. The companies that are gonna, Nvidia has monetized AI, to a point, but it's all about the companies that make the applications. They make the user and enterprise level applications.
Yep.
It's that money's going to be made in software as a service models that all these companies are going to deploy. So I don't worry about Nvidia. Would it be great for there to be competition? Sure, but ultimately, I think we as consumers care more about good, responsible, efficient kind of end user applications that are going to actually turn AI into something useful. Because right now AI is still, to me, I've seen this explosion and oh my god, everybody's talking about chat GPT.
It's a buzzword. It's a buzzword. Yeah.
It is. It still hasn't crossed that chasm, right? You guys remember marketing class? Crossing the chasm between infancy to adoption, and AI it's very early in terms of how AI is really used.
I mean, looking back at the explosion of like the World Wide Web in the mid 90s, into the late 90s. But I mean, look at how quaint that was compared to now, and undeveloped and just wild it was.
I think the real problem, at least at an enterprise level, for what AI is currently, is that there are a lot of really bad stumbling blocks for at least my organization, where lots of proprietary information that lives in the clouds, lots of if we're developing copy with it, lots of lack of copyright law that even affects AI. There's things that come. There is a set of rules, at least in New York State, where if you develop something with AI, first you have to notate it, and secondly, it's not copyrightable because it's not a human developed piece of work, right? And so doing that with something proprietary is impossible. It's an impossible chasm. I can never explain that to someone, right?
By the way, I'm waiting for copyright law to change because someone needs to own that, right?
Yeah, has to change.
So it's
I mean,
who
it's
owns
AI,
it?
right?
Is it the application?
The
that owns
computer will apply for its own patent.
And the thing is, there's no.
Does Microsoft own everything that
there's
ChatGPT comes up
actually
with?
no way to prove, to actually without a doubt prove that things that LLMs spit out aren't just rejiggered ingestments of something someone else has written. And
isn't that kind of the whole idea of it?
It is the whole idea. And really, at the end of the day, there's actual proof that things people have written are being spit out by LLMs. And so the term AI is, and talking about what Rudy said, the term AI is a buzzword. You're taking a thing that's mostly just pattern recognition, and you're slapping the phrase intelligence on it so that people think it's original work. And it is, but really, is it all the way? Not really.
These things aren't right. It's not like this stuff is self-aware yet, except for those two computers that were talking to each other in the language they made up. That was freaking scary.
That was scary.
But other than that,
I don't know. Time will tell, and we are at time. We shall see.
All right, so that has been our topics. As a reminder, we broadcast these live on YouTube every Thursday night at 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific. If you can't catch us live, then feel free to watch us on our YouTube channel, www.youtube.com/@IfTheseBallsPod. And don't forget to subscribe to us by tickling that little bell. We would like to thank our guests for joining us this week. Thank you, Rudy.
Thanks for having me, boys.
Thanks, Rudy.
Thanks, Rudy. It was a
You
pleasure.
can follow or like us on our socials at IfTheseBallsPod on X, Instagram, Facebook, Threads, and TikTok. Our website is www.iftheseballscould-talk-pod.com. Oh, I screwed that up. This is Mark Pesci, and for my partner, John Companion, producer Pete Steffen, that's what we feel they would say if these balls could talk.
Good night, everybody.
If these balls could talk,
Hi, boys.
Good night. Oh, man.
If these balls could talk,
I guess.